Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to be your moderator this morning at this, what I believe is one of the important ceremonies in the annual events of the Hebrew University. This, the dedication of inscriptions on the wall of benefactors. I'm now privileged to invite the Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mickey Federman, to bring his remarks.
Thank you, Eliyahu. Good morning to everybody. It is a very special occasion every year to sit here with this extraordinary view of eternal Jerusalem with such a beautiful day. And it's really befitting the crowd, if I may call us the crowd sitting here. You are the trendsetters, as I said during our breakfast this morning. You give an example by being so generous and so foresighted by supporting the university and choosing the areas which you feel are so important for the university, for Israel, for the Jewish people and humankind. And by supporting those areas of interest of yours, you direct, in a way, the emphasis of the university's research and teaching. And I want to end my very, very short remarks by telling you how much the Hebrew University appreciates whatever you do and thanks you and asks you to continue and bring us more people of support like yourself. Thank you very much, and let's have a wonderful day. Toda rabba.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to invite the President of the Hebrew University, Professor Menachem Ben-Sasson, to address us.
Chairman of the Board, my colleagues, benefactors of the Hebrew University, I do not have to welcome you because you already welcomed everybody. You are now the hosts. You feel like at home. Some of you for 3 generations, some of you for 2 generations, some of you are already fathers and grandfathers of those who run dynasty involvement with the university. We are humble. I may say, and it's not a joke, thank you for the great weather that you came with. You know, it's kind of an average from wherever you came. Some came from South Africa. Others came from the west coast of Canada. There are those who came from Alaska. Some came from Latin America. So put them together, you can either learn geography or moderate the weather. And that's the result. On this very place, 1,000 years ago, ceremonies took place once a year. Jews would come from all over the world, around, that's the information, 12,000 people. And there started the ceremony. I'm not going now to the details of this ceremony. We need more time. But the gist of the ceremony was how important is this ceremony in this place with these people, with these messages to the Jewish people and to the world. And what I'm going to do in the coming few minutes is to decipher with you the language of a ceremony. It is a lesson that we were taught by sociologists and anthropologists of our university, and I'd like to have some follow-up of what we studied from them. A ceremony needs core figure, yourselves, somebody who runs it, an usher, ourselves, a location, a message, and what you call in the language of theater, tools, equipments, and the like of it. So you are going to be the core, the important part of the ceremony, and each of the deciphering stages will come back to you because, yes, you are the core of the message. The location says a lot. You want to be the location in a very high place in order to overlook and to see points of importance in the eyes of those who participate, and in the history and the story of the people that you go. So I do not have to tell you what takes place in the gate of any tour in Jerusalem, because any tour in Jerusalem starts in this point. Come to see mainly this view. Haphazardly, they see your names and they ask, who are they? They go to the internet, they study about yourselves, which is important. But what's important to you is that behind the name is your connection to a value. And the value is represented by the Hebrew University. Yes, we are the ushers. You are the core of the ceremony. Behind you and us, there is the idea, education and research. We spoke about research yesterday afternoon. I'm not going to repeat on it. But it is important that they know that behind what you do and we do, the message is one. But there is another connection. This is the connection to the history, which is the story of our people. Actually, the story of many people. Each one feels very strongly towards this view. It's not enough to feel. You have to fill into this space some content. So you feel great because you like the view. You feel great because your religion, your history goes back to this valley. But you fill in with modern, current ideas by being involved, invested, participating, and committed to the message that we want to represent. So that's the language of the ceremony. The view. It serves, but one has to be blind not to see the view, but to miss what's behind the view. And behind the view are the connections between you, us, the ushers, and the generations that have passed here. Our people never talked about a place. They were committed, worked, and wanted to revive the life of this place. And that's your commitment. It is not a religious commitment for most of us. It's a modern, current commitment to the future of the world that lies behind the message of science and research. Last phase, not least of importance. We cannot see through our backs. But imagine that you can use your back to see. What do you see? The desert. Almost empty. Almost clean. But that's the real future. There you can invest, develop, and then dream of a future. So the backstage scenery, or maybe the fourth stage scenery, by mistake I may say, is actually just closing the message with one last part. We are going to give you a Bible, the Bible of the Hebrew University. We may have time or no to describe what's behind this Bible, but read the introduction to the Bible. 5 different articles give you the background why the Hebrew University produced this Bible in honoring of us as university, as people of value, as those who look to the commitment, responsibility, and partnership from the depth of the history, from the commitment of nowadays, for the working together for the future. That is the language of this unique ceremony, that we are all actually servants of the idea that we represent. Thank you.
We now begin with the ceremony, and I would ask the President to assume his position in front of the dais. The order of proceedings is very, very simple. I'll invite benefactors to come forward. I'll read the summary. The President will make the presentation of the Jerusalem Bible, which, by the way, is the Bible used to swear in members of the Knesset, so very special. And then the recipient, the benefactor, will say a few words from this podium here. So I'd like to invite, in the name of Lucille and the late Daniel Amster, Mrs. Amster to come forward. Lucille and the late Daniel Amster maintained a lifelong dedication to Israel and worldwide Jewry, concerned to foster medical research and quality health care, and dedicated to helping students achieve their academic dreams. The Amsters have supported an array of medical education and humanitarian programs at the Hebrew University. No less committed to the cause of animal welfare, Lucille and Daniel contributed generously to the Corrett School of Veterinary Medicine at the university's Robert H. Smith Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Environment. Daniel Amster, a veteran of World War II, died in June 2011. After earning a law degree from Rutgers University, he became a successful attorney and real estate developer, eventually becoming chairman of the board of Oakland State Bank in New Jersey. Well known and admired within the New Jersey community, he was named Man of the Year by Bergen County YM and YHAA in 1981. Lucille Amster was born in Manhattan. Is a graduate of the New York School of Education. Among the many other causes she supports are the Jewish Home in Rockledge, New Jersey, the New Jersey UJA, Boys Town in Jerusalem, Valley Hospital, the Albert Einstein School of Medicine, and research into Alzheimer's disease. Lucille and Daniel were deeply engaged in the Florida community, where they maintained a residence and participated in many Jewish communal activities. Lucille and Daniel met in a synagogue on Kol Nidre night and were married for 56 years. Mr. President, presentation.
I'm not going to read it for you, but I'd like to show you how beautiful is the layout.
Well, here I go again. It is such a privilege to have seen my husband's name on that beautiful, beautiful etching back there, because this is what he wanted. This is what we both wanted. When he took sick, he said, we've got to continue with our philanthropy. I'm putting you in charge of doing everything we spoke about doing. And I think I'm doing it. I hope I'm doing it right. I'd love to tell you that all of the doctors and workers at the Corrett School have been wonderful. They're back there now. Say hi. They're supporting me in my efforts to do what I can for the helpless animals that just bring tears to my eyes every time I go to that place. It's wonderful. If you can, go over there. See what these poor animals can't tell you when they're in pain. But they are attached to machines just like if they were in a great new hospital in New York. So that's my story. I'm thrilled to be here, and I thank you so much for your kindness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to invite Professor Michael Katz, President of the South African Friends of the Hebrew University, to join the President in front. This is the dedication of the name of Bert Levenstein, who was one of the founders of the UCS investment group of companies. He was a director and ultimately chairman and managing director of the Rand Tobacco and co-founded Peter Papers, which became one of South Africa's largest suppliers of household, office and industrial paper products. Mr. Levenstein joined the Rembrandt Group of companies in 1964, which was a major tobacco supplier, branching out into luxury brand products. At different times, he served as chairman and director of various companies associated with the group. He was later appointed a director of the group and of Rembrandt Consulting Investment Limited. Between 1972 and 1980, he co-founded and was a director of the Masterform Group of companies. His general bequest to the Hebrew University will be dedicated to student aid to help students in need. Mr. President, the presentation. Michael?
Michael,
Not
you're
yet.
not running to any place. So beforehand I opened it and you saw 2 columns, yes? 3 columns. Now open it again and you see 2 columns. There is a reason why you read when you open the introduction. Have it.
distinguished members on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pride for me to be receiving this award on behalf of the late Bertie and Ada Levenstein, but it's a great sadness that they aren't here to take it personally. Just to give you a perspective, Eliyahu read the biography, very, very abridged biography of Bertie Levenstein, but just one perspective. He was on a number of boards, preeminent South African companies, but the one board referred to by Eliyahu, the Rembrandt Group, is probably the most prestigious South African company, international dimension. It's headed by a man called Johann Rupert. The Richemont Group, which owns Cartier and a number of very well-known brands. Bertie Levenstein was on that board, and we were all very proud of him. I met Bertie as a client, and Bertie was a very modest, humble man who achieved greatly, but no one really heard Bertie speaking about any of his wonderful achievements. When I was doing Bertie's will, and Bertie and Ada didn't have any children, they did a joint will, and they were both very excited about the suggestion I made that they leave a large part of the residue of their estate to the Hebrew University. They didn't need any persuasion. They wanted to support the Hebrew University. They were very proud of their Jewish identity in South Africa. They were recognized as proud members of the Jewish community, a great devotion to the State of Israel, and great supporters of the Hebrew University. So it really is very fitting that they be recognized in this wonderful environment today. And as I say, I'm just sorry that they aren't here to receive it themselves. But it has also shown me something, as president of the SA Friends, that there are many people in the community who are very willing to support the Hebrew University, and I hope that this is a forerunner of much to come. The best part is that this year there are 20 South Africans here. I'm pleased to see that on the program we are only second, 2 South Africans on today's program. We won't compete with America, but I hope we'll be a good second. So to Bertie and Ada's memory, thanks to the university for bestowing this honor on them.
Thank you, Michael Katz. Would now like to invite Mr. Michael Levy and daughter Victoria, to join the President.
You have to run to Tel Aviv to bring them.
Oh, okay. Michael L. Levy was born in Edmonton, Alberta, but as a boy moved to Vancouver with his parents, Bob and Frida Levy. A Talmud Torah graduate, Michael began his education in 1948 when the new school opened its doors. His parents were involved in the Talmud Torah from the outset, continuing the tradition of devotion to Jewish education of Frida's father, Charles Waterman, who pioneered Jewish day schools in Calgary in the early 1920s. Michael has served on several boards in the Jewish community, including the Talmud Torah, where his daughters Cheryl and Adrian were attending, and the Vancouver Jewish Federation. Michael ran for the provincial legislature in 1988 in his home community of South Surrey and served on the boards of Southridge School, RCMP, Community Policing, Peace Arch Hospital Foundation, and the Centre for Child Development, as well as the Surrey Mayor's Panel of Economic Advisors in Surrey. Michael's working career has included over 45 years in the gold bullion business, along with many years in radio and television broadcasting. Currently provides daily business analysis for Chorus Radio and also appears on global TV commenting on economic and monetary events. The auditorium at the Botnar building housing the Institute for Medical Research, Israel, Canada, will be named for Michael Levy and his family. Michael lived in Vancouver after moving back from South Surrey, where he and his late wife Carol lived with their children for 21 years. He has 6 children and 4 grandchildren. He endowed the Michael Levy and Family Auditorium, the Botnar building housing the Institute for Medical Research, Israel, Canada, at the Faculty of Medicine. Mr. President, the presentation.
Something new on this announcement. Okay, if you open Deuteronomy, chapter 47, there is the Song of Moses. It's one of the secrets of the copy of this copy. So you open, you read this chapter, you read the introduction, and you know what's behind the discoveries of this very chapter.
Okay, בסדר. בסדר. Michael, there's another short order of business. I'm going to ask the Chairman of the Board of Governors to make you a presentation of the special pin of Benefactors, which was distributed this morning to the benefactors. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Levy, please.
I wondered whether, when I came over today, whether I should wear my Harvard University cap. Apparently, it's not available anymore, so I do wear it with pride.
We'll give you a Hebrew University one today.
Oh, I've got a Hebrew. Okay. That was the original. I had an epiphany, a thought. My grandfather, my Saba, my Zeta, came to Israel many times. He was a fervent Zionist. He grew up in Austria till he was a late teenager and then emigrated to Canada, then to the prairies of Canada and farmed, and went into Calgary, Alberta, as was told, and started one of the families that started the Hebrew Day School. And during the 50s and 60s, until he died in 1972, he would come to Israel every winter. And for the life of me, I couldn't remember where he would come. I just couldn't, and I had, as I say, I had an epiphany at 3 o'clock in the morning. Gevat Brenner. He used to come and stay for the winter at Gevat Brenner, and he always carried his book, Elef Melim, 1,000 words. And he learned Hebrew when he was in his 60s and 70s so that he was fluent in it. You know, I'm being thanked for the donation, and certainly I feel the gratification, but I don't think I should be thanked as much as I should thank you. Thank you for the honor of being able to give. Because what we're doing here is fleeting. The name will be on the wall or at the auditorium. But the honor that you've given me to be able to do something meaningful is what means so much to me. And my children will come, my children's children, and my children's children will come, and they will see the name Michael Levy family. And they will know it's their Zeta, their great Zeta. And maybe our names collectively on the wall or on whatever project we take will inspire others to give. So, if anything I take away from today, it's thank you for finding a project that was so close to my heart, that makes me feel good about what I do. You have given me the honor to give, and thank you so much for that honor. Thank you. Oh, my Harvard hat.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael Levy. I'd now like to invite Professor Paul Shankerman, the son of Etta and Paul Shankerman, to join the President. Etta Shankerman Niebarski was born in 1918 in Winnipeg. She received her BSc in bacteriology and biochemistry from the University of Alberta. Etta was one of the first members of the Canadian Women's Army Corps, attached to a medical unit. She met Paul, a U.S. Air Force officer and pilot, while he was serving in the Royal Canadian Air Force. They were married in 1943, a union that spanned 53 years. Etta was a strong Zionist even before the State of Israel was established. She remained an ardent supporter of Israel and a contributor to Jewish charities in the United States and Israel. A lifetime lover of opera, pianist and painter, expert in Japanese flower arranging, she continues some of these pursuits even at the age of 95. Paul was an ardent and lifelong Zionist. Born in Remington, Indiana in 1920, he was orphaned at a very early age and raised by his brothers and in a Jewish orphanage. When the United States entered the war, he transferred to the U.S. Air Force from Canada and became a career officer. Paul was highly decorated combat pilot in the Korean War and received many decorations, including the Distinguished Flying Cross. In 1954, he was secretly recruited to train pilots for the Israel Air Force. However, family circumstances made this impossible, but he maintained close ties and was a proud and vocal supporter of Israel all of his life. Etta and Paul deeply valued education and encouraged a strong educational ethic in their 4 children and 2 grandsons. Paul passed away in San Diego in 1996. Throughout their lives, Etta and Paul had 3 great loves: one another, education, and the land of Israel. The Etta and Paul Shankerman Chair in Molecular Biomedicine, endowed by their son Mark Shankerman, has been established to bring all of these loves together and honor them in a most appropriate way. Mark Shankerman is a professor of economics at the London School of Economics. He is a regular visitor to Israel and the Hebrew University, where he has made many, many friends and colleagues. Mr. President, the presentation.
So the economic part of it is the following form. Now, in order to renovate the manuscripts in the 12th century, they paid 60 dinars, gold dinars. In order to renovate by us in the 19th, we had to find a contribution of $60,000. Now you have a copy which is the result of this research.
Please.
Thank you very much. The danger of having a professor at the podium, I have some prepared remarks, but they're very brief. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here to celebrate the inscription of the names of my parents on the wall of Benefactors, in conjunction with the establishment of the Etta and Paul Shankerman Chair in Molecular Biomedicine. My mother very much wanted to come, but at 95 and a half, the trip was too difficult, as it would have been from San Diego, California. But she will be viewing the film of the event later, which means that I must be on my best behavior. It's your mother, no matter what age. I hope those of you who have the pleasure of knowing my mom will have the opportunity to congratulate her later on film. My parents' short biographies are available. They've just been read. They're available in the brochure, so I'll be very brief now. As I look out over this truly magnificent view of the Old City and the United Jerusalem, the idea that my parents will be forever associated with this institution, this location, and this history is absolutely thrilling. Throughout their lives, my parents loved Israel and the Jewish people, contributed generously to these causes, worked tirelessly in fundraising, especially my mother, for Jewish institutions such as B'nai B'rith, Hadassah, and Brandeis University. And they were proud of the astounding accomplishments and contributions of our people, contributions that have been made to humanity throughout the ages. Now, I want to say briefly to my mother directly, with this ceremony at the Wall of Benefactors, you and Dad are connected even more directly and tangibly to this history. And I cannot think of two people more deserving of this honor. This is your day, Mom. Congratulations. Be sure to celebrate. And may I add, Ad Mea Vesrim, to 120 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those moving remarks. It's now my privilege to invite David Smith to come forward and stand by the President. David Bruce Smith, son of the late Robert H. Smith, is actively engaged in philanthropic leadership on behalf of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and the American Friends of the University. Devoted to Israel's well-being, he's a distinguished member of the Smith family of Washington, D.C., longtime supporters and benefactors of the university. David, his sister Michelle, his parents Robert and Clarence Smith, his late grandfather Charles Smith, and late brother Stephen Smith have been dedicated to the Hebrew University for decades and foster many aspects of its work. The family has been a driving force behind the growth of the Robert H. Smith Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Environment. The American Friends of the Hebrew University National Board member, David is a member of its campaign committee and the Hebrew University Board of Governors and is president of the National Institute of Psychobiology in Jerusalem. David has a bachelor's degree in American literature from George Washington University and a master's degree in journalism from New York University. As president of the David Bruce Smith Publications, he leads a firm that specializes in the writing, editing, and publishing of limited fine edition books. During the last half-decade, he's written or published books about Abraham Lincoln, John Marshall, Tennessee Williams, Charles E. Smith, and Clarence Smith. David is a member of the boards of the George Washington University, the District of Columbia Jewish Community Center, Lincoln College, Arena Stage, Smith and Synagogue, and sits on the board of advisors of the Washington Independent Review of Books. Mr. President, the presentation.
He asked me to say something about the book, and I do not know how to say to David. He's a producer of a book of quality. He knows that we made a special lecture set for making this book, so I'm waiting for review, notes, criticism about the work that we have done.
David, invite you.
My grandfather, Charles E. Smith, believed that Jewish survival was dependent on Jewish education. It's something I heard from the time I was a teenager and could never get out of my head. As a result, my children and my niece and nephew attended and graduated from the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School in Rockville. I am happy and honored to be alongside him, my parents, and their accomplishments at the Donors Wall. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Before going on to the last but certainly not least, I want to say that Arthur Guterman, who is here today, although he received his book, I'd like him to stand up so we can recognize him as a benefactor who had received the honor in the book in the United States, but I think we should honor him here today.
It's like a Jewish holiday. We celebrate 7 days. So almost 7 days ago we started, and that's the last day of the holiday. Okay, it's in your hand. It's in your hand.
Thank you. Our pleasure. It's now my pleasure to invite Estelle Yach's daughter Diana and her two sons, Dr. Derek and Jonathan, to come forward and stand by the President. Are they here? Yes. I have to say we're really deeply sorry that Estelle Yach was unable to be with us today, as you'll hear will explain. A leading member of Cape Town's general and Jewish communities, Estelle Yach is a devoted friend of Israel and of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, to which she has been a regular visitor and a governor. Her benevolence has significantly advanced the university and enabled many hundreds of students to pursue higher education. Mrs. Yach is an internationally acclaimed miniaturist and highly accomplished businesswoman whose commitment to improving the lives of others continues a family tradition. In 1938, her late father, Morris Malberger, established the Malberger Foundation Fund, which her late husband, Solom, went on to lead. Solom Yach is memorialized at a garden at the very center of the Mount Scopus campus. After chairing the foundation for over 20 years, Estelle recently passed over its reins to her daughter Diana and is now the honorary life president. Since the 1960s, the Malberger Foundation has lent its support to a wide range of vital projects at the Hebrew University, including Malberger medical bursaries, the Morris and Helen Malberger Chair in Agricultural Entomology, research projects in diverse areas, and notably numerous research fellowships and scholarships for Israeli and international students, many from underprivileged backgrounds. Alongside her devotion to the Hebrew University, Estelle Yach is a generous supporter of the community and cultural projects in South Africa and Israel, many of which seek to empower women and members of disadvantaged communities. As I mentioned, we're so sorry that her health has prevented her from being with us today, but we know that she is very happy in being represented by her children, Diana, Dr. Derek, and Jonathan. And we do ask them to convey our best wishes for her full and speedy recovery. Mr. President, the presentation.
It's all about families, as I said at the beginning. And now they came, all three of them, so I have to defend. This Bible's version was made by a family lived 1100 years ago in Tiberias. The family's name is Ben Asher. When you read the introduction, you understand why the accurate version was kept until the time of Maimonides in 1204. Have it.
I'd now like to invite Diana to speak on behalf of the family.
Good morning, everyone. I really don't know what to say. I am overwhelmed by feeling so connected to all of you, and most important, I feel my grandfather's here, my father's here, and I know my mother's here in spirit, even though she couldn't be here physically today. I think that our commitment over the years has been mentioned to a variety of good causes, not just here, but also in South Africa. And a real thread that runs through all of that is that we live in a world of real interconnections. And one of the things we haven't been very good at over the years is learning to live with each other. And that continues to be a challenge, I think, which we face both in South Africa and the work we do in Israel. And I think that we are devoted to doing whatever we can to try and bring people together so that we can actually share our humanity and our sense of social justice. And I know that I speak on behalf of my brothers, who I'm thrilled managed to come from all parts of the world, India and America, to join me here. So we could come home and be together to celebrate this wonderful university and all the students and the researchers. And we feel really inspired that we will continue the journey, because there's a lot of work that still has to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana. And as I said before, do please convey to your mother our congratulations and warmest good wishes. Thank you, Carmel Quartet. Now we realize that Papa Haydn really had a delightful sense of humor. Thank you so much for the rendition. Ladies and gentlemen, we have two more things to do before we can conclude this ceremony. The first is, by tradition, we honor those who received the Benefactors Bible today. And sir, you too, would you please stand and face the audience so that we can congratulate you as a group for this year. Would you please rise, turn, and face the audience. Thank you so much.